Well, viewers, we're always keen on capturing special moments, especially when it involves someone beloved. But what happens when the relationship really turns sour? The bond goes awry and your ex-partner still has access to intimate photos and videos. Now, as a 22-year-old BPO employee from Bengaluru found out, the special pictures and moments turn traumatic and the memories begin to haunt. Well, in fact, for this BPO employee, the harrowing ordeal had just begun to unfold as she scrolled further and now stumbled across 13,000 nude photos of various women in fact, in her partner's mobile phone gallery. Now, among this were not just hers, but also of other women, and especially those familiar faces from her workplace. Now, though she hadn't been threatened, there had been no blackmail, at least not as much as we know at this point in time as the investigation continues. The possibility of her pictures spilling over online sent shivers down her spine, and she immediately alerted her seniors, who filed a complaint at the cybercrime police station. Cops arrested this man. He's been identified as 25-year-old Santosh from the office, and currently the investigation is going on. But the question here is the safety of women in a relationship, especially with usage of mobile phones, capturing pictures, intimate pictures as well. To discuss more about this, I have Mr. N.S. Napina. He's the advocate from the Supreme Court and the founder of Cyber Sati. Nirmal Kaur is also with us, former IPS. We are also going to be joined in by Bhavana Ramanna, actor and activist in a short while from now, we've been told. Sruthi Sushantti, corporate employee, Bengaluru, is with us. Let me take this across firstly to Shruti. Shruti, you could probably understand, because a woman going through an ordeal like this, especially, having realized that it's her own colleague, and then pictures not just of herself, but her other colleagues, and then thousands of other women. It is, of course, a very difficult situation to deal with. And it not just traumatizes you as a person, but makes you think about, the workspace that you're working in. How does anybody really deal with such a situation? How would you personally have dealt with some situation like this, Shruti?
I think the most, prevention is always better than cure. I think, I've been reading the article. She was in a relationship for only 4 months. I think it's, honestly, it's just not a smart thing to do, to share such intimate moments and capture them on camera, to give it to someone who you don't really know, who you don't really trust. But I think these things have happened and they keep happening. And I think the best way to deal with it is to, really just keep a brave face on. And I think that's all we can do once it's out. But always prevention is better than cure. It is not very smart to share such intimate moments on camera, because phones are not exactly our best friends. And I've also been reading that some of it was, morphed, etc. Technology is not always your best friend. You need to know how to use it wisely.
Okay, Bhavana Ramanna has just joined us, is what I've been told. Bhavana, this is a very, very, bad experience for any woman. And here to have found out, firstly, that somebody that you've been with for quite some time turned out to be somebody who's been probably hoarding pictures of, women from your workplace, also having pictures of, other women on your phone. Do you think that, these are red flags enough here to go ahead and ensure that you file a police complaint? Because the investigation is still going on in this particular case. The cops have to really investigate, why did he have these pictures? How did it come? How did he actually capture them? Were they morphed? Yeah. But when you really look at an instance like this coming to the fore, what are the red flags that you really look at?
Yeah, I'm really shocked. And first of all, I would like to really, I feel really sorry for the girl also. It's really traumatic, as you're talking about. But another thing is, this is very common with that age group, I think. Anybody who is between 20s and up till 30s, between in 20s and 30s, any boy, many of the male friends of mine, or maybe earlier when I was also seeing somebody, even they were all doing the same thing. But then even, in fact, in my life also similar thing happened. That once I found out that there were many girls' photographs in the phone, that's when I really I just thought that this is the time that I should really distance myself from the person. But then in this case, there's this 13,000 pictures. That's quite a number. I mean, like, it shows psychologically there's something wrong with the person, or even if not right now, but he is really going towards something really not really right in his life for his own sake. So for the mental health condition, I don't think this is a good sign. I think he should really treat himself to start with. And another thing when it comes to women, and then when they really start kind of publicly post it or probably start blackmailing them and things like that, it gets even more dangerous and dangerous for both. And then you never know. Then these are probably these are the signs that a person is kind of going in the path of turning out to be a criminal, or even to do or put himself into some criminal activities and things like that. So it can really turn out really, really dangerous. For any girl who is really, any woman, any girl of any age, as my other person was mentioning, the lady herself was talking about, that you should really keep yourself away from the phone. And if somebody is taking your picture willingly, then it's fine, but not in a very intimate way. That's what I feel, you know. I may sound conservative, but then this is all going to be in a public platform, because even the Google, Facebook, everything, and Instagram, everything is open for all the public. It is not something just for you or yourself. So it is not something really private. It's not going to be put on a private space. So I don't think it's a good idea for any girl to go with an idea like this. But it is very common with all the male. I'm really sorry to say this. Please don't get offended, because I'm just saying that it's a very common thing. You know, it's also a trend. You know, all the boys in age group from 20s to 30s, I think that is the age, and they think that it's happening, and they think that they want to be friends with many girls, and they're also they're also not in the right age, that, you know, but then that's the time I think they should really get a good friendship from a girl herself. And probably if one or two girls do this and they find out, and then this is not the way that they should be treated, once they really come to know, they may not probably do this. But then most of the time what happens is, amongst the boys, it's a very normal thing, you know, more girls that you know, and then you get more bhav as such, and then you're considered to be more charming, and you're considered to be happening in the whole crowd. So the whole male attitude, it's all about proving himself individually to the rest of the other people who are in the group, in their friend circle. And then most of the boys, they do share everything with the other boys. Normally, they never keep it for themselves.
Okay, Bhavna, I'll have to bring in the other panelists as well, because we have little time. Let me bring in Nirmal Kaur. She's been an IPS officer, so she probably understands how do women really deal with such instances. Firstly, of course, for women to go to the police station, you know, things have changed. Now they're becoming, they probably they have clearer thought now that they need to take this to the officials. Such a person needs to be booked, and that's what exactly has happened in this particular case. But legally, what are the options before women when such instances really come to the fore? And having a picture with consent, is it wrong? Then finding out that there are many other pictures, to look into it and probably go back to multiple of these women, ask them. It is a very tedious process for the police as well, isn't it?
I think this gentleman seems to be a sick guy. He's sick, mentally sick, to have 13,000 nude photos out there in his camera, in his the memory of his camera. And this girl also apparently is not very smart to be falling for such a guy and sharing her intimate photos out there. And these days, you don't even need to share. The deepfake photos are so good; they're as good as anything. So, you know, I'm sure the first step is police. Whenever anything like this happens, he's done the right thing by taking it to the police. Blackmailer, maybe he intended to blackmail her, and he was holding all these photos like trophies, you know, to prove his macho image to his friends or whatever it is. I think going to the police is the first thing, and perhaps the best thing to do in such a situation.
Okay, Ms. Kaur, I'm not able to hear you very clearly. I think we need to fix that technical glitch at your end. I'll also here go to NS Napinai. He's an advocate himself. Mr. Napinai, if I want you to answer on the same question. What are the options really before women when such instances come to the fore? Is it the police, and also legally as well, how do they really deal with this matter?
The first and foremost is women need to understand, the victims need to understand that there are remedies and recourse in law. You've already been putting up the provisions in terms of Section 66E of the IT Act, which talks about privacy. The important aspect there is that even with respect to capturing, if someone were to capture your nude image or images where you had a reasonable expectation of privacy, even that act by itself is an offense. And secondly, for these kind of revenge porn cases or sextortion, as I prefer to call them, if you have agreed to the capturing of an image, or you yourself have sexted and you have shared certain personal imagery, it does not matter. If someone threatens you that they will be exposing it, even where you have given consent for the capturing, such disclosure is an offense. And the 67, which is now being displayed on the screen, talks about the publication and dissemination of obscene content, and 67A is of sexually explicit content. So you have provisions under the IT Act or the Information Technology Act. You have protections under the Indian Penal Code also for outraging modesty of a woman, etc. In this case, therefore, there are multiple issues here. We are talking about the girlfriend who was shocked about what she found. You mentioned that there are also several imagery of other women. It is not clear how those were captured. So there is definitely already a prima facie case that appears to have been made out in terms of the capturing without the consent of the victims. And at this juncture, it appears that there may not have been publication or dissemination. It does not matter. There is a possibility that would have happened, but you don't get punished for what could have happened. You can, however, be prosecuted for what you have already done. On another note, in terms of what you asked earlier about awareness, etc., Cyber Sati, which is a non-profit which I've started, which is independent of my role as a lawyer, it deals with the exact issue which you have highlighted in terms of not just each of us knowing our rights, but also having someone who you can reach out to for a helping hand. Every one of us should also become a little bit more aware and become better first responders for victims so that we can guide them correctly and help them through these kind of difficult times.
Okay, I want to go back to Bhavna and Shruti as well here. Now, Bhavna, you were pointing out that, there is a possibility that in relationships, there is consent that is involved in actually clicking some intimate pictures. Now, while, of course, you deal with a situation like this, you did mention, of course, while you did find other pictures, there was a line that you drew and you wanted to move away from a relationship like that. But where do you really see something going wrong? Or where does one draw the line here?
I
Bhavna?
think it's all about the trust, and then how much of you trust the person, but I don't think it's ever... Am I audible? Am I audible, sir?
Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Am I audible? Yeah, it's all about trust, but then how much of you trust the person? But I think it's never a wise idea for any girl to share herself in, a very, in a nude position. Never ever. I don't think that should be, one should not really, one cannot trust a person to that extent. I don't think, and even if you trust him, it should be expressed in a different manner, but then this is not the way. I know it may all sound that, we all sounding like oldies and old days people and olden days, this was the thing, and then today things are really quite okay, and then it's let's chill. This is the attitude of all the youngsters, but then especially for a girl, it's about your own life, and it's a question of your own integrity, your life, your honor, your respect. And it's not just you alone, it's your family is also attached with that. So then it becomes a bigger and bigger trauma, and then you will not be able to handle it so much. So it's better when you're really dating somebody or when you're really seeing someone, it's one of the family member, at least somebody should know that you're seeing this person, one, because at least the boy will be aware that yes, I cannot really cross my line, and then I cannot really do anything beyond this. And then two, you should know where to draw a line for your own self. You must know. For a girl, it's very important to know how to really protect her own self and her own self-respect. I think this is one way of dealing with it, especially with the technology and then all the platform which goes really public. It goes really... I'm sure you also remembered what happened in Ludhiana University recent days, and all the girls were really traumatized and really wanted to really... They were news.
Absolutely. These are, of course,
saying
grave
that they
concerns
were
that
really
needs to be
trying to
addressed.
kill
But
themselves.
Shruti, also
so there
coming
was a
back
mass,
to you.
suicide attempt.
Shruti, I want to ask you, you being a corporate employee yourself, how much of the involvement of the company is important in such instances and their support? And right now, in companies that you worked in or your friends and former colleagues right now work in, does the corporate world really come in support of people who are affected by such instances? Is there counseling in your corporate workspaces? How does the company really come into the picture? How does the HR process come into the picture here?
Okay, I think first of all, equality is one of the number one priorities in all corporate employees. So we don't look at it as who is, whether it's a male or a female who's coming forward with a sexual harassment complaint. This falls under that, if I'm not wrong. I think at least what we're advised to do is always come forward without any worry about you being reprimanded for you coming forward. And not that I've been in a situation like this, but we're constantly trained. We have a POSH training that happens in the office every year, and it's mandatory for every employee. In fact, our HR actually annoys you into taking the POSH training, and that has all of the details that we've been talking about, including the sections that the lawyer and the ma'am were mentioning. And they're all part of our POSH training, and this is compulsory for both male and female employees. When you I think the steps are very simple. You first report to your manager and your HR, and there's an immediate action taken. And you will always be safe from reprimanding, or even it will be reported to the police if it's a grave danger. But I think there are warnings in place in case it's a smaller offense, I guess. Yeah.
I want to also bring in Nirmal Kaur here. I want to bring in Nirmal Kaur here to understand that as far as, for women to come out and actually, speak about such instances in the workspace, there needs to be an atmosphere that is created in the workspace that allows for women or any of the victims to come out openly and speak about it. How important is it for IT companies or any company for that matter to have a process in place so that, they're not victimized after coming out and speaking about such instances? Ms. Nirmal Kaur, you're on mute. If you could unmute yourself.
These days, sexual harassment at workplace is taken very seriously, very seriously. It's a very serious issue, and regularly, sensitization goes on.
Okay,
both for male and
if you're not able to
employees.
fix that, I'll take that question across to NS Napinai.
Yeah. So there are a couple of things in terms of response to your question. The first and foremost is that after the Sexual Harassment Act of 2013, and before that under the Vishaka judgment, every corporate entity with over 10 employees must have an internal complaints committee. But sexual harassment is very specifically defined both under this act as well as in the IPC. And if any of the acts of an employee, I would put it slightly differently. If there is an act of sexual harassment against a woman within the workplace. So it doesn't have to be against a woman employee. It just has to be against a woman within the premises. Then the internal complaints committee has to take note of it and has to action it. And that actioning includes having an internal inquiry, and after the end of the inquiry, if an offense is found to be made out, to file a criminal complaint. This was not taken seriously and it was not implemented efficiently. Therefore, the Supreme Court intervened, and you would have at least 2 or more case laws after the 2013 Act, wherein they reiterated the need for the Act to be implemented and for these internal complaints committees to be appointed. One of the things that the corporate person mentioned about the annual awareness programs, that again forms part of the law. Now, this is as far as corporate is concerned in terms of sexual harassment. You posed this other question with respect to the problems that victims have when they go to give a complaint. Now, that is something I want to just give a cautionary word to victims and also a word of courage. Remember that whenever you go to give a complaint, for any complaint for that matter, there will be this feeling that you're being victimized again. The questions that you will be asked will seem a little intrusive. So don't get hassled, don't lose your cool, and don't be rude to the investigating agency or the officer. They are just doing their job. You please do your job and keep your calm and give all the details correctly, because if you cooperate with the investigation, then it helps. But where someone crosses the line and starts doing character assassination of you, be firm and do not allow for that. Repeatedly, be it in court, be it during investigation, be it in any stage of a legal proceeding. The Supreme Court and various high courts have come down heavily on any attempts at character assassination of victims, and that is impermissible, whoever the person may be. Therefore, victims can and should take a strong stand if it comes to that, but without it interfering with the process of investigation. So this is just a cautionary word I wanted to add in terms of my response.
Right. I think we've discussed about how to deal with it in the workspace. What should workspaces really do to help out victims in such instances? And Bhavna was touching down upon, actually having a situation where you do, of course, indulge in clicking pictures, but how to deal with it. But one last aspect that I want to touch down upon, Bhavna, before we in fact wrap this discussion is, what are the do's and don'ts while you're in a relationship and when you probably put an end to that relationship? Because if you have this individual in this particular case who had pictures of other women in his workplace, there is a possibility that some of those pictures could have been out of consent. Now, if you're retaining it after a relationship, do you feel that probably there should be a discussion between the couple? If there was a picture that was taken, that later it should be deleted because the relationship is no longer, they're no longer together? Or do you think that there should be any other protocols that should be followed? Or is it that easy when I say protocol?
But in this case, because the numbers of the pictures are so high in a phone, it looks I'm so sorry. You may use the word perversion for such things, because he is not just holding on to pictures of the person who is actually having a relationship with, but it's number of other women pictures also that he has. So it looks like he is kind of getting obsessed, and then he is kind of going into becoming more and more pervert probably. So in that scenario, I don't think she can expect any kind of respect in return from him, because he will not be the person to give her a true love, I'm sure. So it is about love and care. If somebody is really caring and really he is in love with you, it's fine. But these are really very common things that the way we all in a younger generation, that we all express it like this. And then for the girl also, she wants to hold on to the relationship. So she thinks this is one way that I have to be doing it. But then the minute that a girl feels that there is no respect or there is no love, he is only doing it for the heck of it or the sake of it, then I think it's time that she has to decide what is that she wants.
Nirmal Kaur, because we couldn't really hear her.
Hello?
The other time when I went to her. Nirmal Kaur, if you can make your point very quickly.
I did not get your question.
Koi, are you able to hear
Something
me?
is wrong with the.
We've discussed about various aspects earlier as well. I asked you a question about, victims in such a situation, well, they do come to the police. We did discuss about how the institution should deal with it. Sensitization of police in such instances also is important, considering the fact that these are pictures that the police as well will have access to. Overall, when something like this comes to the fore, if you could give us a perspective from the police, from the investigation end, and also what kind of, protocol should the women in such instances follow?
The IT Act is very clear. Even in the old IPC, there are sections against, violating the modesty of a woman and, making her pictures public. So both the conventional law as well as the IT Act, there's ample legal enablers for police to act, and police should take immediate steps, which normally it does also, and to, put that man to book, put that person to book, whether these are real photos or doctored photos or deepfake photos. They have to be immediately removed, and also under the Act, the person has to be prosecuted, charge sheeted and prosecuted in the court, where courts will award him the suitable punishment. And now these are very serious issues these days. It is not like the old days that women will be blamed whatever happens. Now these are serious issues. The government takes it very seriously. The corporates take it very seriously. The police takes it very seriously. The society takes it very seriously. So these are serious issues, and I think going to the police is the only way out. One should not dither or hesitate or think that what will happen. No, immediately go to the authorities and go to the police. That is the only way to deal with such a situation. There's no better way. Getting people to mediate or, getting panchayati done, getting your colleagues in or this or that. No, the only way is to go to the authorities and, register a case and have such a person prosecuted. I think that is the only way you have of containing this menace, because there are all kinds of psychos, all kinds of sick people around in the society, and women, fall for them. I don't know. They don't know who to trust. They don't know. They're normally living away from their families. They're vulnerable. They're looking for affection. They're looking for acceptance. They're looking for validation. So that advantage, people take advantage of that and, trap these girls, and who end up getting, a bad name like that. And why should it be a bad name for the girl? I mean, that mentality has to be gotten over, that the girl is not being humiliated. It's the man who's done something wrong. The girl has not done anything wrong. By trusting someone, that is not wrong. Wrong is when somebody violates your trust, when somebody abuses your trust. That is what the man is doing in such a case. He's abusing your trust. He's violating your good feelings. He's violating the affection you have in him. I think he's done something wrong and he should be totally exposed. As per law, action taken immediately against him. There's enough, many enablers in the law and in the social system and in practice today that will take care of it. So I think there's no need for women to worry. They have to go ahead, whether they are real pictures with their consent, without their consent, fake, doctored, morphed, whatever it is, deep fake. They have to go to the police immediately and get, some kind of, they have to get help.
Okay.
You cannot deal with these people on your own. You just cannot cope with it on your own. Many times girls
Right,
think,
Mrs. Kaur.
I can
Thank
cope
you.
with it.
Thank you for sharing that perspective, Ms. Napina. Thank you as well. Apart from that, we've also had Bhavana put out her perspective, and Sruthi Sushantti as well, who of course gave us their perspective. Let's hope that in this particular case, justice is done. And if anyone, of course, deals with a situation like this, all our panelists, of course, have given us a perspective of how to deal with it from the police's end, and also from how the company itself should deal with it and how you can approach the company with problems like this as well. With that, we're slipping in a quick break. News and updates continue. Stay with us.